how other children do. This year the Queen Quet coming to honor from COP22. Look where they did. Marrakech, Morocco, in the motherland and things like that. And we want to make sure honor children get just a little taste of what been going on right here this year climate change conference and things like that. It done going to all kind of different exhibits and things like that from the motherland where they show different culture, same agriculture. But you know one thing like that, that's why we've been a crack. We take with plenty of Gullah Geechee who are going to the store for everything now. Why you have a whole honey land and know how to dig on a hand in the sand. So that when honey to throw some seed in it, thing won't grow. You know? So honey children, you need to go back to the old landmark and things like that and do the thing where we ancestors them belong with how to do so that we can still did it, even though climate will change. So honey children, this year the Queen Quet, tune in just a little while, but just a little taste of COP22. This is how we do.
Climate change brought a number of weather-related hazards that we were not able to forecast. We lost a crop, we lost everything. Now it's different. Thanks to AAA initiative actions, a global insurance system that covers agricultural risk related to climate hazards has been available in my country since 2016. For us, it means new prospects and a less uncertain future. We have been able to stabilize our income and we can now invest. When I look back, I'm proud that Africa took the decision to adapt its agricultural techniques.
We are the potential.
We are the technology.
We are part of the solution.
We are African adapted agriculture.
Hello everyone, sorry about our lack of Facebook Live. We've just got some bad reception in Marrakech at the COP. I'm here with Mattiesen, who is Queen Quet of the Gullah Geechee Nation, and we're just going to talk to you, hopefully, about some of the reasons why you're here. But first of all, can you just tell us a little bit about who the Gullah Geechee people are?
Sure. So glad if a day with all the honey children and things like that at the COP22 with Karl, letting people know at home what's going on over here. We know y'all are climate home people. So if one of the enemy to crack me teeth like this year the Gullah Geechee. So a lot of you are hearing me speak. You might not have ever heard that before, but that is the Gullah Geechee language, and it comes from what are called the Sea Islands, which are in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, where the United States are. So our ancestors are those of enslaved Africans from numerous ethnic groups that combined along with indigenous Americans and have been on the Sea Islands for over 400 years now. So we have our own unique culture, language, traditions, and customs.
So we had a chat a couple of weeks ago, and you told me that this is the first time that you'll be appearing or representing your people at the UNFCCC conferences. Why here? Why now? What have you come through?
Well, I've been to many other UN conferences, but usually they're the human rights conferences. I've been to also the Indigenous Peoples Forum. I've been to the Minority Forum, but I have never come to any of the climate change forums. So this is the first opportunity to ensure that the world realizes that there are indigenous cultures on the Sea Islands, know where the Sea Islands are, and recognize that we are the front line for climate change dynamics, and to make sure that as they look at the Paris Agreement, that they don't fall short of protecting cultural heritage, because that is a major component. A lot of people want to talk about structures, buildings, the financial cost, the insurance on buildings, but we can rebuild a building. But if we lose each other, you don't get another Kyle back, you don't get another Queen Quet back. And so especially with the culture, you don't want to ever lose it. I always believe that if one culture dies, another soon follows. So I wanted to make sure that my culture had a voice here in this what I consider a celebration of all the nations moving forward on this issue.
Tell us a bit more, like what are the defining points? What are the things that are special about your culture? What are we trying not to lose?
Interesting. Yes, well, I know a lot of people are used to hearing tangible and intangible resources. To us who live a culture, we don't know how you call something intangible. It's all tangible to us. It's something we feel. We can hold on to it. So when you're talking about a language that there are only about 500,000 people in the world that speak it fluently, that's a critical component. When you're talking about people living from the land and from the sea, literally unto this day, making our own boats to go out into that water with, and cast nets to actually catch the fish, and then using what we would call things that have minor effects on the environment. We feel like these are the things that will get lost. The traditional knowledge of how do you thrive and survive in an atmosphere where your tide does go up and down every day, but now it's getting higher every day that you didn't expect before. How do you still thrive and survive there where there's hurricanes that can come there and all of this, and we've done it for over 400 years. So why not talk to us about what it is that we do on land and at sea that benefits these other communities around the world, that can be models for those communities. So we're talking about everything from the literal how do you sustain yourself on land, but how to hold on and things like that. Yes.
And you've mentioned a couple of the effects that you're seeing on your islands.
Yes.
And from what I understand, they're very low-lying, kind of flat, sort of sandbar kind of...
Yeah, well, they call them the barrier islands because they are also called the low country because they're technically below sea level. And so over the years, at some point, water was above, it went down, we have sea islands. And then now the water's come back like it wants to return home. But the biggest issue has been a lot of people eat oysters. Do you eat oysters?
Love oysters.
There you go. I get that a lot. And people don't realize when you eat an oyster, you should put the shell back. Because the shell beds are what protect the spartina grass. The spartina grass then protects the roots of the trees, which create a maritime forest, which keeps in place the sand that makes a sea island. People have gone and they've done what we call derby fishing. They have picked out all the clams, the oysters, so now we are in direct line of water that's coming in. When you have resort overbuilding, which has happened to a lot of our sea islands, they clear-cut trees, so there's nothing to buffer you from the winds when a hurricane comes. So if now the ground becomes saturated by just rain, don't even talk about a hurricane, or just the tide coming in and out, the trees are now falling down and laying down. So these are critical things that people often don't realize what connects to each other. And this is part of what we need to start teaching the world so that they would understand how to protect it.
And you talked to me a couple of weeks ago, you said you wanted to come here because you felt, well, I'm talking about two things. First of all, you felt like you weren't being heard at home.
Right.
But I'm really interested too because you said you wanted to come here and kind of meet kindred spirits or states that are and countries and islands that are facing the same things as you and learn. So first of all, I mean, who have you met here that you felt was
connected to
walking that same path?
Believe it or not, besides you that is, the people of Morocco I have actually connected a great deal with. I am shocked to see some of the images that I saw here of the ocean and people fishing, and I went, wait a minute, those are bateau boats, what are they doing? Wait a minute, where is this? And we're only, they said, about 175 kilometers from getting to the ocean here, and the type of boats they're using, the type of fishing equipment, I could just dive right in with them and start working right away. And so I've made a lot of connections because even the handcrafted traditions of their rugs are very similar to what we call rag rugs. There's been food I've eaten here that I said, wait a minute, for breakfast, what? Y'all call this a pancake, we call it fry bread. So there have been so many similarities, it is absolutely amazing. Even the tea. The first day someone went to hand me the tea, I went, I know this smell, and I smelled it, and it was the same mint I grow in front of my door. home. And that's not the connection I thought I was going to make when I first spoke to you. I thought I was going to meet like people from small islands and developing states, and we would get in big conversations, but it turned out that that was one of the links immediately right here in Morocco with Moroccan people. And then being able to meet others here at the conference who actually are from the United States, hilarious, right? That are dealing with medical issues and how people's medicine and how their health is being negatively impacted because of different climate change dynamics, that I work on those issues at home but didn't know them. So now we were able to exchange information to try to work together on some other things and galvanize youth even around this issue. So far it's been really a lot of fun and very beneficial. I even got to meet the Ministry of Tourism here of Morocco, and we got to do a video and did some other things. So I've made some really good contacts.
I think it's one of those things that people don't realise about these conferences, is that you've got a huge range of exhibits and people meeting and people coming together outside all of the politics which actually happens in quite a small area.
Yeah.
It's a real carnival of ideas.
And it's interesting he said carnival, because we are literally in tents, everybody, and one section is called the blue zone. The section we're in now is called the green zone. People in the blue zone can go to the green zone. People in the green zone can't go to the blue zone.
That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you. It's a nice segue, because from what I understand, Indigenous peoples from all around the world, and I include your people, Indigenous people, tend to be sort of pushed out into this part of it, so away from the politics. Is that something you've kind of noticed that you struggle with?
It's been interesting because I did notice it. Fortunately, I'm blessed to have been sponsored to be able to come here by a Nigerian NGO. And so as a result, we have access to both zones, and I've been able to go to presentations and be part of presentations in both zones. But it does disturb me, and I do struggle with it, not just here, because I've seen this in New York at the Indigenous Peoples Forum. Thousands, tens of thousands of people raised money to be able to get their people to the forum so that people could present their story and make interventions. And when they would get there, they were not in the main room where the politics was going on. They were in the spillover room. So I consider this the same type of atmosphere, and it's unfortunate, because how do you set policy for people you don't even recognize, you don't communicate with, and you're not even sitting at the table with?
And the sort of unmentionable part of this is what's happening in your own country at the moment. And we get bored talking about it. And like I didn't want to talk about it, but it did strike me walking over here that this is, you know, you're part of a people, you're representing a people whose own head of government, who is really threatened by climate change, but whose own head of government now is not going to recognise this problem. I mean,
you're talking about the U.S. head of government. I'm the head of the Gullah Geechee Nation, so I recognize that. That's why I'm here. I can't tell you anything about what the rest of them are going to do. But currently, President Barack Obama and I have worked on White House conferences together with a number of issues. And all I would say is that he has said he is going to make sure he's part of a smooth transition. So I am praying that what he's able to do is speak to the incoming person and say, look, we have already put together the different agencies in the U.S. government to try to prevent them from working in silos, to get them to even talk interagency, because that's a big problem in the United States. They don't do it. And now that he's worked on getting that going for the last 8 years, that he can show them, here's a package, here's the reports, here's the other people, the indigenous people we work with. This is a critical issue. And if you say in your acceptance speech, I'm going to now bring the country together, I'm going to work with the world, this is where you can start. Because look what the world was doing on the night you got elected. So pay attention.
thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you.